So yesterday we did the realistic TRC 1001, testing the customer's set before we sent it back. Discovered the PTT switch was a bit dirty, so that got cleaned and got sent back. I'll just check he's got that parcel. Mr. Chippy, have you got that parcel for the customer over?
Negative. Could do with some screen wash as well. There's none in it and the screen's frozen up.
Yeah, you better get back then. I'll pause my video.
Yeah, try again, have the volume down.
Roger, I picked up the wrong mic and it went through the repeater. My lights batteries run out, so it's going to be a dingy picture. So there we go.
Yeah, roger that. We lost 2 miles on the car just doing that.
Not surprised with all that power with the heater and that. Okay, so that bit of banter. He decided to come back. There was no screen wash in the car, so he came back. He'd only gone half a mile up the road, and it's quite cold. It's 1 degree out, and the electric car's taking some power for its heater. Now, this is the Harrier WT1. Yesterday, when we pulled it in with that realistic 1001 test for the customer, and then we found the 1001 needed its PTT switch cleaning, the Harrier WT1s were abysmal on transmitted speech. So I've changed every single electrolytic in both the radios, and that seems to have brought them back to a bit more normality. Now I've also sent him out with my Harrier WT1, which we've owned from new, and it's our control one. I did just service it as well to make sure it was spot on. So what I've asked Mr. Chippy to do is to go to Ancaster Church, which is 1.2 miles away, and we're going to give it a go from there. Now they're only 100 milliwatt handhelds, and that is pushing range. We've got trees in between, but they're starting to lose their leaves now we're in November. So we will see how we go. I've got him on the other radio, so we're testing 3 sets. The customer's 2 Harrier WT1s, which have both had extensive work. Mr. Chippy's got the body cam with him, because I need to know how they, what they are like to listen to. So we're listening to the 2 customers' ones and my Harrier WT1, which is like new in a box. Tango 21, Mr. Chippy, how are you doing?
Yeah, just come up to Ancaster Crossroads.
Roger on that. Ancaster Church is 1,000 years old, and it's built on the site of the Roman temple, so there's been worship going on one way or another for 2,000 years. You think, wow, that's what Britain's all about.
Tango 21, Mr. Chippy, just outside Ancaster Church now.
Roger, I'll look forward to hearing you on my Harrier WT1 as the test and the control over.
Roger that.
Tango 21, Mr. Chip, if that's you calling, you're out of range. Yeah, that is out of range. You will need to come backwards towards the council thingy road over. I thought that might be pushing it.
Right, back in the car. I'll move on to the Shipley place.
Yeah, Roger, I mean, they're 7/8 of a mile range, and that is pushing it, isn't it?
Sorry, say again, I'd have the volume down.
Yeah, 7/8 of a mile range though, so it is pushing it behind the church and with the woods in the way over.
Yep, roger that. I'll turn around and get back on with it.
Roger. As you can see from that though, by turning the squelch down, we were able to hear that he was there, and you could have used that, wouldn't be legal, but you could use that tone key to send Morse code, couldn't you? Oh no, it is legal because it's plain speech. I had this with the DTI as it was. I said to them, if I do slow Morse practice on CB radio, is that legal? They said yes it is, because it's in plain speech, as long as you don't code it on top of it. So yes, that was okay.
Right, now in position at the council depot.
Roger, got you there. Let's see how that goes. He's now parked up about 3/4 of a mile away. This isn't a range test. We just want to know if these sound acceptable, because they didn't sound acceptable yesterday. I am, but like yesterday, that's very quiet, so you need to really talk into the speaker over.
Yep, roger that. Talking into the speaker, any better?
Yeah, that's fine. That's what you expect on those. Right, so that's my Harrier, yeah? Okay, you move on to one of the other ones. What about the one with the bit of aerial we've poked in?
Yep, I'll talk to that one now.
So next.
Tango 21 from Mr. Chippy you're receiving.
Tango 21, Mr. Chip, if that's you calling, you're out of range.
Tango 21, Mr. Chippy, I'll just wander across the road if it's any better, over.
That is out of range. You will need to come backwards towards the council thingy road, over.
Yeah, roger that. Tango 21, Mr. Chippy you're receiving.
I am, but like yesterday, that's very quiet. You need to really talk into the speaker, over.
Yep, roger that, talking into the speaker, any better?
Yeah, that's fine. That's what you expect on those. Right, so that's my Harrier, yep?
Yep, roger that, that's your Harrier.
Okay, you move on to one of the other ones. What about the one with the bit of aerial we've poked in?
Yep, no problem, do that one now.
So the next one, the one where we've put a bit of phosphor bronze rod in to counteract the broken aerial. This is the one that came in with no receive. So not only have we changed all the capacitors, we had to change the audio IC as well. And this one actually transmitted better of the two, but then we'd already changed 4 capacitors in diagnosing the audio fault. Right, yeah, I'm getting you. So can you again talk really closely into that, please, over? Yes, Roger, that's as dreadful as you'd expect, over. Excellent, I thought I'd sorted that out. It had changed when I changed the capacitors, I had to retune it. So over to the final one, over.
Tango 21 from Mr. Chippy you're receiving.
Right, yeah, I'm getting you. So can you again talk really closely into that, please, over?
Yep, roger that, Tango 21 from Mr. Chippy, are you receiving?
Yes, Roger, that's as dreadful as you'd expect, over.
Roger that. Well, receive-wise it sounds fine now, just like your WT1 really.
Excellent, I thought I'd sorted that out. It had changed when I changed the capacitors, I had to retune it. So over to the final one, over.
Yep, roger that.
Yes, receiving you on that one as well. Again, if you talk really closely into it, please. Yeah, it's as dreary as you expect, yeah, but there's no distortion, and hopefully I'm coming through nice and clear, over. Roger, thank you. That concludes the test. 10-10.
Tango 21 from Mr. Chippy, you're receiving.
Yes, receiving on that one as well. Can you talk really closely into it, please?
That was really close into it.
Yeah, it's as you expect, yeah, but there's no distortion, and hopefully I'm coming through nice and clear, over.
Yep, Yep, certainly improved on yesterday.
Roger, thank you. That concludes the test.
Yep, roger that. 10-10.
10-10.
Okay, so they're weed and thin and horrible weedy and thin. They are doing the deviation, but at this range, which is 3/4 of a mile, we are about at the extent of the range. Goodness knows how dreadful these are between a pair, but you know, you're probably looking at 50 yards. So we could turn the volume up on the base station, but I wanted to keep the volume of the base station where we'd got it when we were talking to Mr. Chippy in the car. So there you go. That is the Harvard 020s, which are actually working. Isn't that wonderful? Not really. So the next day, before we send these radios back, let's see what they really sound like. Now, we had Mr. Chippy 2/3 of a mile away, which is coming towards the extent of range. If you remember, we tried him outside Ancaster Church, which is 1.1 mile away, and we could just hear him, but it was no fair test. So that's why I had him move a bit closer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in another room. You know, when we do the on the air tests and we go over to this base station, I sit on the bench. I'm going to go in another room and I'm going to talk on these sets. And what we're going to do, we're going to start. We've still got my realistic 1001 out. That's not going to focus on there at that distance. We've still got this out. So I'm going to go in the other room and I'm just going to say testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll tell you which of the sets I'm on. So we'll see what they sound like to this base station, and then we'll see what they sound like in themselves.
As a second test, this is my Harrier WT1. Talking directly and closely into it, this is the Harrier WT1. Now testing the Harvard 020. This is the customer's one with the intact antenna. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is the customer's Harvard 020 with the damaged antenna, which we have put a bit of a rod in so that we can actually test it. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So finally, let's see how these types of radios sound between themselves, because they probably sound better between themselves because of their rubbish filtering than they do into that Harrier CBHQ, which is going to be better filtering.
As a control test, this is the realistic TRC 1001 into the Harvard 020. As a second comparison test, this is my Harrier WT1 into the customer's Harvard 020, and that's the set with the dodgy antenna and the set which had to have the audio IC replaced. This is the customer's Harvard 020 with the intact antenna into the customer's Harvard 020 with the dodgy antenna. Now we're going to reverse this.
Now you'll hear with this set that its squelch is hovering on threshold with interference in this house. Now I asked Mr. Chippy whether it was doing that because I noticed the squelch was far more sensitive on that one on the bench. means that was all right out and about, except when you come to interference path. So it isn't faulty, but its squelch threshold is less than desired, and that is factory preset. It's nothing you can adjust. So we're going to go over now, and we're going to talk to the other Harvard 020.
Tango 21, talk to the other Harvard 020, which is the customer's set with the broken aerial. You're listening to it on the customer's set with the intact aerial, with the one with the squelch. It would be better if it was a little bit less sensitive. And finally, it's a test talking into my Harrier WT1. So hopefully that concludes. I don't know what these are going to sound like. I'll find out when we edit the video. But I think they're going to sound better between a pair of these than they do into my Harrier CBHQ base station. So thank you for watching the Harvard 020